Good evening. This is Elder G again. I was just sitting around thinking, looking at the news, looking at the things that the people are doing. And then I started thinking about America and capitalism. I remember my father was a sharecropper. My mother got sick and she had to have surgery. My father didn't trust the doctors down here in Greene County, Alabama, because my 7-year-old brother, something had happened to his leg. And my father took him to the doctor, my mother, and they sent him home. But the same night they sent him home, he died. And instead of the doctor sending my brother to a hospital, a more qualified hospital, he just sent him home, where he died at 7 years old. Right before Christmas. Let me tell you about capitalism and how it works. See, capitalism it's for the greedy. It's for the arrogant. It's for the cocky. It's for the disobedience to God. That's what it is. See, socialism is when you take part free market and you take the other part that you can use capitalism in that part if you want to. But if you find with socialism, then there ain't no problem. Like some people don't want that big house on the hill. Some people don't want no $1,000 a month car note and $500 car insurance. Some people don't want that. Some people just want to be happy with their family, with their wives and their fathers and brothers and sisters and their kids. A big old happy family. So I went from being a sharecropper's son. We went to California in '73. I was 16 years old. Then I started working. I remember I went to OICW and got a trade. I learned electronics, how to stuff printed circuit boards. That was a big thing then. And I went for an interview to Texas Instruments. I was real good at soldering, and I was real good with electronics and stuffing printed circuit boards. I was good at that. And at that time, the entry level to get that job was $2.90 an hour. And I had another job offer, I think it was $3.25, where I used to work. So I decided that I'm going to go for the $3.25 instead of the $2.90. I remember when I could pay a penny for a piece of candy. I'm only 68 years old. I remember we used to go to the store For lunchtime, Daddy told us that we can go to the store if we had a credit account there. He said that we could spend $2 a piece for lunch. And with that $2, you could get a big old slice of bologna, and then you can get 2 big old honey buns. And you can take that bologna and put it in between those 2 honey buns. And if you have a little bit more money, you can get you a slice of cheese and put on there. That was our lunch. That was our food for the day. There is some things that we have to live off of. Everybody needs food. I think everybody can agree to that. Everybody needs medical care. I think everybody can agree with that. I think everybody that's capable and qualified should have transportation so they can get back and forth to work. Right? Why is it that everything that the government invent with our tax dollars, that they always turn it over to the private enterprise? Why did the government had people get together and invent the GPS, but then give it to the private enterprise, so the private enterprise can become multi-millionaire and multi-billionaires off of us? And we the one that hired the scientists and everything to invent the GPS. And then you're going to turn it over to the autocrats and let them charge us for the rest of our life. The taxpayer put up the money to invent the internet, and then they turn it over to the private enterprise so they can charge us for the rest of our life. Having gas or electric in your house is a necessity to keep you cool in the summertime and to keep you warm in the winter. Why would we turn the resources that we need over to the private enterprise and let the enterprise charge us 50%, 60%, 70%, sometimes 200% more than what the stuff costs? Why would you do that to yourself? Do that make any kind of sense? That you go out there and work for 40 years, 45 years, or 50 years, and everything that you work for, the government turns it over to the oligarchs and let them charge you through the nose for the rest of your life. I remember when you could buy a 12-ounce soda for a quarter. I'm only 68. I remember right here in Greene County at the Piggly Wiggly, Utah, Alabama, you could go and buy a 20-ounce soda out of the machine outside of Piggly Wiggly. It was 50 cents. It was 50 cents for years. Here it is 2026. By the time you get through with some taxes at gas station, that same 20-ounce soda is almost $3. In California, it probably is $3. Can you believe $3 for a 20-ounce bottle of water with some food coloring and a little bit of flavor and sugar? $3. the drink inside the bottle costs more than the drink inside. Why would you do all this building? Why would you do all this inventing just to turn it over to the oligarchs and let the oligarch charge you off the nose for the rest of your life? When you buy land and property on it, they're going to tax you even if you pay cash for your land. They're going to tax you every year. And every time you improve the building or add a building to your property, every time you add one, your property tax is going to go up. Why would you elect a governor official that promised that he's going to raise taxes if he get elected, and you go out and vote for him, even though he told you he was going to increase your property tax? Is something wrong with the American people? Why is prejudiced people so fascinated with capitalism? Capitalism is not in the Bible. The Bible didn't say, I got mine, get yours. The Bible didn't say that. The Bible didn't say, get as much for that drink as you can. It didn't say that. Capitalism is a evil term. Is that people that think they better than somebody else, people that think they smarter than somebody else, and people that think they stronger than other people. Capitalism, you just go in and take what you want. And if they don't like it and they won't give it to you, you kill them. Why not, if you don't want to go all communism, why don't you give the people what they need to survive? Everybody needs shelter. Everybody needs food. Everybody needs an education. Older people, when there's nobody to help them and they can't afford it, you need to be able to help them. Now, don't that sound more like God than take from the needy just to give to the greedy? You're going to take from the needy just because you can, and you're going to give it to the greedy. I don't see God in that. I don't see no mercy in that. I don't see no justice in that. I don't see no integrity in that. An expert financier said that the money that Elon Musk is worth, $500 billion. They said that if Elon Musk just spend like a wild dog, he couldn't even go broke in 400 years, because you can't go broke when you're worth $500 billion. Because everything that you buy is going to be of value. Everything that you buy as years go by is going to increase in value. How can you feel comfortable working for a man or a woman that's worth $500 billion and they're just paying you enough money just to get by? A man that would spend $15 million taking all his family and friends to Paris before he can get married for the third time. $50 million. He would waste that $50 million. Just think about that. He could have bought 50 people $1 million house and paid cash for them all. He paid that for his wedding just to show how rich he is. That's an oligarch. Or like Bill Gates. He spent $1.5 billion just for a yacht that he hardly ever on. You tell me, what would you call someone that refused to pay their employees a living wage, but then go out and blow $1.5 billion on a yacht that you are hardly ever on? What would you call somebody like that? Would you call them godly? Would you call them righteous? What would you call Pete Hegseth, the head of DOJ, of the Defense Department? Over there in Venezuela, you're gonna accuse somebody of being a drug trafficker, but you don't got no proof. You don't try to find no proof. You don't even give the people due process. You just blow them out of the water like they just like a fish. What would you call Pete Hegseth? Would you call him a great defense secretary? Would you call him a godly person that will blow people out of the water without process, without any kind of evidence? Those people had fathers and mothers. They probably had sisters and brothers. They probably had wife and kids. But Pete Hegseth didn't care nothing about that. All Pete Hegseth wants you to be afraid of him and to look at him like he's a god. If I don't like you, I'll just blow you out of the water. Or somebody that can't afford medicine. And you're going to charge them $300 or $400 for a little old bottle of eye drops to try to help you to keep from losing your sight. Or take away your Medicaid because you done got old after working 40 or 50 years and you can't get around no more and you ain't got no family member to help you. So the Medicaid pay for your stay in the nursing home. That ain't godly to take that Medicaid away from someone that gave you all their lives, worked over 40 or 50 years, and worked their finger to the bone. But as soon as they got old and you didn't want them no more, or you didn't need them no more, or they couldn't help you no more, You just throw them away and just let them waste away and die. Is that godly? Is that righteous? Is that just? Tell me. Is that what love is? Is that what loving God and that's what accepting Jesus, is that what it is? Just to say, I got mine and you get yours. And when you're down, instead of picking you up, I just put my foot around your neck. Tell me, how is that godly? I thought life was the most precious thing that we can have as human beings. As we got Christ, we're supposed to have love for one another. Just like Christ loved us. Do you remember, if you're in your 60s or your 70s, do you remember, could you go to the store with a penny and get you a piece of candy? Remember when you can get a big old slice of bologna for less than $1? A drink for $0.25. Just think about this. You done worked 43 years. And you retire. You can't retire from your job because you kept going from job to job. So you ain't got no job retirement. You only got your Social Security retirement. And you're getting less than $2,000 a month. But guess what? The same price that I was paying when I had a job for 43 years, the price just kept on going. Just think about this now. When I was working, if I was making $15 an hour, the gas right now is more expensive than the gas was when I was making $15 an hour. To buy a car is more expensive now than it was when I was making $15 an hour. To rent an apartment or to buy a house or to get a loan is way more expensive than it was when I was back making $15 an hour. But now I'm getting less than $2,000 a month, but I still got to pay the same thing for gas if I was making $25 an hour. The person that's making $25 an hour and the person that's getting less than $2,000 a month on Social Security has got to pay the same price for the gas. If the person that go into Kroger's and buy 4 steaks that may cost them close to $100, the person that's making $30 an hour and hear me get less than $2,000 an hour, I still got to pay the same price for that steak as the person making $30 an hour. How is that fair? How is that justice? I worked for this country over 43 years. And they give me my check, and everything come from triple, a quadruple, since I was making $30. I went from making $50,000 a year or $60,000 a year down to making 15 on a fixed income. And that's when I got to pay the most for gas. I got to pay the most for food. I got to pay the most for clothes. When I went from $50,000 or $60,000 down to $15,000 a year. How is that justice? When I'm almost 70 years old, I can't do the things I used to do. And I'm making the least amount of money. And everything is the most expensive that it's ever been in my life when I'm taking home the less amount of money. While the oligarchs is flying around in billion-dollar planes, driving $2 and $3 million cars, living in $300 million houses, riding around in $1.5 billion yacht. But you can't pay your sister and your brother a living wage that they can buy and they can eat on a regular basis. They got a good, safe place to stay. They can get the medical care they need. You want to waste it on a yacht, waste it on a bottle of wine, waste it on a picture that you want to spend $10 or $15 million for, just for it to hang on the wall, so you can say you got it. All capitalism does is devour the 90% of the population and make that 10% of the population super rich. To make them like a God figure. That you got to bow the knee to them just to get some kind of service. Is that godly? Is that right? God say no. That ain't right. That ain't fair. And that ain't justice. Thank you.